Hello everyone and welcome back to Processing the World. Now as I record this, the brand new DJI Mini 5 Pro has just been released here in Australia and worldwide. The new drone steps up with a full 1-inch CMOS sensor versus the Mini 4 Pro's 1/1.3-inch sensor, which means you'll see noticeably better dynamic range, less noise in low light and more latitude in post. Now, I already fly the Mavic 2 Pro from years ago and the Air 2S, both of which have a 1-inch sensor, so I know the difference that the sensor size can make. But what's exciting is that the Mini 5 Pro promises much of that image quality in a much more compact, sub 250 gram package, which for many people, especially when traveling or following local drone regulations, makes all the difference. And yes, I'll probably end up getting one at some point in the future. But here's the important thing. Just because a new model comes out, it doesn't mean that your current gear suddenly becomes obsolete. Now, I'm obviously still flying the DJI Mini 4 Pro, which I think everyone would agree is more than capable of producing professional results. Now, in this video, I'll show you exactly what's possible by stitching together 5 dusk images of Melbourne into a panorama. And really, I want to show you just how much can be extracted from the files in terms of shadow and highlight details, assuming, of course, that you have exposed in such a way as to ensure the raw files contain as much dynamic range as possible. Now, the final JPEG from this process prints natively at around 22 by 10 inches or 55.8 by 25.3 centimeters at 300 pixels per inch. So it's not huge, but it's more than enough for a beautiful wall print. And if you wanted to go even larger, obviously, upscaling software such as Topaz Gigapixel can easily push that even further. So whether you're flying the Mini 4 Pro or thinking about upgrading to the Mini 5 Pro, you'll see just how much potential your drone still has. And since we're working in my hometown of Melbourne, I'll also share some practical tips for visiting the city, along with recommendations for places to stay if you come here as a tourist. So let's dive into the edit. I'm going to open these in Camera RAW, select them all, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to touch the temperature because this is actually pretty accurate. I set it at this temperature while I was flying the drone. I'm not going to touch the vibrance or the saturation either. This is going to be one that I'll do some global adjustment to, and then as usual, I will finesse it with some masks. So I want to increase the exposure, first of all, for all of the images, and I'm going to take it up by about a stop. So that brightens the image quite a lot, and I want to drop back my highlights. So let's bring those back so that we don't blow any highlights. You'll see that actually there's a fair latitude in the Mini 4 Pro file, so naturally I can't wait to see what the Mini 5 can do for a photographer. I mean, there'll be a lot of videos out there espousing its virtues as a video machine, but for a photographer, I want to see what it can do. Now let's just bring up the shadows. So we're going to brighten those shadow areas a little bit more. And that's not a bad starting point. So with that done, I won't do any more. I'm going to sharpen it once I get the final image. But for now, let's go over to, I'll take, say, the middle image just to have a look and just see how far we've come. So yeah, you can just see that starting to come to life nicely there. So we're going to go to Merge to Panorama, and it will create a nice panoramic image for me using the cylindrical projection. It just gives me a little bit of a wider feel, and I'm going to just drag the boundary warp across, and there we go. I'm quite happy with that. Let's merge that together. So yeah, we'll save that in the same file. And okay, so that's pretty good. If I now increase my exposure, it's going to brighten the image as a whole. That's a little bit better. Let's go to the masking tab though, because that's really where this image starts to come to life. First thing, let's drop back the sky. So the sky is already reasonably dark, but I'm going to drop back the blacks, and you see that gives me, and push up the whites, and you see that gives me that nice contrast and just makes the sky look a little bit more dramatic. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm going to bring the highlights down just a little bit. I'm going to push the whites up a little bit more, brighten it just that little bit there. That's pretty good. Now what I want to do is select the landscape. So I'm going to go for a new mask, create new mask, go to landscape, and it's going to say, well, obviously architecture. I could do vegetation and water as well, but I'm just going to stick with architecture for the moment. Create this mask, and I'm just going to push my exposure up just that little bit more and push up my highlights just to see them glow a little bit. You can see if I push it too far. It's always worth sliding, if you're working with masks, just push them around a bit and you can see where you're going to have problems. So if I push it too much, I'd have problems around the art centre spire there, around the corners and edges of the buildings. That's certainly not going to work. So I just want to be very subtle here. Just bring up the highlights very slightly. Bring up the shadows a little bit. That's pretty good. And I'm just going to ensure that I don't have any problems around the edges, any haloing, just going to subtract the sky from this. So that just cleans up any haloing from that particular mask. So let's just see, maybe the exposure up a little bit more. That's not too bad. No, actually, I'll leave it at 30. But what I might do is increase the clarity in this. I didn't add any mid-tone contrast in the global adjustments particularly. So just going to bring up the clarity, and it just starts to give me a more interesting feel, a bit more pop to my image. That I'm happy with there. I'm losing a bit of the gardens here. So I'm going to select the brush for this. I could select the landscape tool again, but the landscape masking, but I'm going to select a manual brush. Just make the brush bigger using the left or right square bracket. In this case, the right square bracket to make it bigger. I'm just going to paint over this area of garden here. And there are some trees along the other side of the south bank there. So I will just bring those up. This is Flinders Street Station. These are the tracks. I'm just going to bring a little bit extra light in there too. So just going to lighten it up just fractionally. Bring up my shadows a little bit. And yeah, that's not looking too bad. I think I might drop out the train tracks. I'm not liking those as much now. But let's just work on these first. So that mask of exposure 65, shadows 45, that brings up the vegetation quite well. Let's subtract with a brush this area. I don't really want that. I don't really need the eye drawn there. That's better. While I was flying, you can see there was a concert going on at Fed Square. So this area here, the highlights are that little bit blown, and I do want to take your eye away from there. So just a very simple mask here with the brush, and I'm just going to draw onto this area, paint onto this area, drop my exposure back, drop my highlights back, and it just means that I don't have my eye drawn there unnecessarily. And that's not bad. I mean, that's giving me pretty much what I want from the overall image. Let's just do a before and an after. That's with my before and after. Here you have the rowing huts, you have the gardens, you can see that. I could probably crop in here. I don't really need to see this area here. This is heading towards St Kilda. Let's just crop this, and I won't constrain the aspect ratio. So we'll just crop in to about here. I think that feels a little bit more balanced to me. If I bring down the sky, I would lose the top of this cloud. I quite like that, so I might leave that as is. Having props there, that's pretty much my final image, I feel. Now, the only thing that remains to be done to finish this image is just to add some sharpening. So I'll just come down to the sharpening tab, and as usual, grab my masking slider, hold down my Option or Alt key, slide across till I just get the white lines denoting what is going to be sharpened in the image. Anything that's white will be sharp, anything that's black won't be, as usual. So drag my sharpening up to around about 80 odd points, and that gives me a pretty good final image that I can add some extra sharpening to when it comes to output if I'm making a very large print, or just as is if I'm just posting to web. So that's the final image of the Melbourne Mini 4 Pro Dusk Panorama. And that's the finished Panorama. Stitched, balanced with masks, and sharpened for either print or web output. Now for me, this really demonstrates that the DJI Mini 4 Pro still has plenty of life left in it, even with the arrival of the Mini 5 Pro. As I mentioned, I probably will still get the Mini 5 Pro, but then I have GAS, or Gear Acquisition Syndrome. But let me know in the comments down below if you're also planning on upgrading, or are you just going to stick with your current drone? Really, what an amazing time it is to be a photographer, eh? There'll be just so much amazing choices for us. Now, if you are visiting Melbourne, make sure you plan enough time to explore both the city itself and the surrounding region. Now, here are 5 quick tips to get you started. Now, tip number 1, make sure you walk the Yarra River. Melbourne comes alive at dusk along South Bank with street performers, it's got beautiful restaurants and obviously fabulous skyline views. Now, tip number 2, visit Federation Square and Flinders Street Station, 2 of Melbourne's most iconic landmarks that actually feature, of course, in this image. Now, tip number 3, explore the laneways. Hosier Lane is famous for its graffiti art, but there are countless hidden cafes and arcades worth discovering all along the route. Now, tip number 4, take a day tour to the 12 Apostles. The Great Ocean Road is one of Australia's most spectacular drives. If you don't have a car, plenty of tour operators run day trips there that are absolutely worth it, in my opinion. Tip number 5, you could always time your visit for an event such as the Australian Open Tennis in January to the Melbourne International Comedy Festival in April. There's always something happening here, the Grand Prix for example. Now, alternatively, you could go on a wine tour to the Yarra Valley. We are so blessed to have so many excellent wineries right here on our doorstep. And if you're looking for places to stay, then I've links to 3 options in the description below, which obviously depend on your budget. So thank you so much for joining me on this edit. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who loves photography and travel. And please do stay tuned. There's many more Processing the World tutorials on the way. Once again, thank you and keep shooting.